Hey guys, come here and you're going to be the second movie review for the new series I'm starting called Own It, Never Fucking Seen It. If you guys didn't see, 2 days ago I reviewed The Spectacular Now, and this is going to be the second film I review. And that movie, of course, is a film that I've wanted to see for quite some time now, ever since I heard about it. I've been wanting to check it out, and I was, a friend of mine actually gave me like a shit ton of Blu-rays because he wanted to get rid of them because he wanted to save up money, and he felt that by giving his Blu-rays to me, I don't know how that would give him money or whatever, but he wanted to get rid of a bunch of his Blu-rays, so he gave a bunch of them to me, and this is one of the ones he gave me, and finally I've gotten the chance to actually sit down and watch it, and that is the 1991 romantic dramedy The Fisher King. This movie, I went into it almost completely blind. I knew nothing going into this movie. I knew it starred Ron Williams, I knew it had Jeff Bridges, and I knew it was directed by Terry Gilliam. That was it. That was all I knew going into it, and I wanted to keep it that way. I didn't want to know much going in these, as most of these films. I don't want to know much going into them. I want to try to stay as, I want to as little as possible, and I want to try to go into it as blindly as I possibly can. Sure, I might have seen some trailers here and again for some of these, but this one I did not see a lot for. I've seen some footage on Watch Mojo, but I didn't know the plot or anything like that, and that was something I was definitely very interested in getting into. And after watching this movie, thank God I finally sat down watching this movie, because holy shit, is this movie amazing. I absolutely love The Fisher King. I think it is an absolute masterpiece. It's a film that many people I don't think have seen, and it really is unfortunate because it is a very important film. I think it's still a very relevant film, and it's still a film that I think is honestly going to be kind of timeless because of what it deals with, but it definitely did surprise me, and this is exactly why I wanted to do this series, is to watch films like this. But let's just get into this, let's get into the plot of this movie, because the plot of this movie is truly great. I really do love the plot here. Basically, we focus on our main character, Jack, and he lives in Manhattan, and he is your typical spoiled disc jockey. He's very, he's very sardonic. He doesn't really care much about the people he's on the radio with. He kind of just hates people. Like, he really does not have much sympathy for them. He doesn't understand them a lot, and, well, he ends up giving this one guy very bad advice on the radio, and this horrible, this horrible scandal happens involving a genocide. I'm not going to spoil what happens, but this whole scandal happens, and it essentially ruins his career. We cut to 5 years later, and Jack is basically on the verge of suicide at this point. He feels that he has nothing left to give to the world, and right when he's about to kill himself, a bunch of homeless people basically come up to him in like a mob, and they attack him, but he is saved by one of them named Perry, and at first Jack deems him as crazy when Perry, tells him that he wants to find the Holy Grail, but after a while, Jack kind of realizes that Perry might be the key to saving him, and Jack might be the key to saving Perry, and that's really all I'm going to say, because I don't want to spoil anything else about this movie. But let's just get into this film, starting off with the cast. Now, as for the acting in this film, I think everyone really did an incredible job. There really isn't a bad performance in the bunch. Just like the previous film I reviewed, The Spectacular Now, this is one of those movies where every performance really did stick out to me, and I think everyone really did a fantastic job and really had a very memorable role. But let's first talk about our main character here. Jeff Bridges' Jack is perfectly casted. Now, Jeff Bridges has been in a shit ton of films, but this is by far one of his best performances. I really did love this character, because even though he is very, he starts out the film and you hate this guy, you really do, he's very unsympathetic, he's he's very bitter. He just doesn't seem like a happy guy. He's always kind of rude to the callers and things like that. He just doesn't give a shit about them, and he's not very appreciative of his girlfriend or anything like that. And then as the film goes on, though, you kind of start to realize that, no, this is us. This is exactly how we would react in the situation that Jack is in. Because Jack, like I said, when he first meets Perry, he thinks that he's weird. And 99% of the time, when you walk up to a homeless person and they start, basically doing what they did to Jack, where, they smother you and they touch you and they start calling you weird names. I mean, automatically you're probably just gonna think, oh, they're weird, and they're weird, and they don't treat me, they treat you different, and they just they're different, and they're weird, and they have problems, and because they're homeless, and you don't really think of them as actual people. And that's essentially what Jack does at first. But what Jack also does in this film is then he starts to rethink things and realize that they are human, and that they do actually have actual human emotions, and that because that he should care for them. And going through that arc is incredible to watch him basically come to terms with something that he can't understand, that's just that big, that he just can't fully understand it, because of the man that he's with is very different from who he is. I mean, and especially the last act of this film where he ends up going is truly remarkable. I really did love his character, and you really do believe his transition, and Jeff Bridges did a really good job of that. I feel like a lesser actor wouldn't be able to pull off this role, because again, this is something where you've definitely seen the story done before, but Jeff Bridges really makes it feel new, and he makes it feel fresh, and he really is one of the reasons why this movie is as important as it is. I think he did an incredible job here. I really did love his performance, and he definitely very well carried the film. But by far, as good as everyone else is, the absolute scene stealer of this film is Robin Williams as Perry, who is just incredible. I loved this role. Now, Robin Williams, obviously, rest in peace, he was an incredible actor. I think this is one of his more unknown roles, though, and it kind of sucks because I think it's one of his best, really. I mean, he had a lot to do with this film. Perry is someone who is kind of like a godlike figure in many ways. He doesn't act human. He doesn't treat things like they are. I mean, this is someone who just has really weird rituals that he does. Like, there's a scene where he sprints around naked in a city streets, or something like, saying that trash is beautiful, or just the different ways that he talks, or the things that he says, or finding the beauty in things that other people would find disgusting. He's very eccentric in that way, and he's very grounded in fantasy, which is the opposite of Jack, who is grounded in reality, and that's something that Jack doesn't really understand. But you can really understand why Perry does feel that way. He also has a connection to the tragedy that Jack has gone through, and I think that storyline as well was very well executed. But seeing Perry go through that transformation of becoming human and being forced to acclimate to the world, you kind of do feel bad for him, because you can understand why he does believe in what he does. And they eventually give a reason why he's so invested in finding the Holy Grail, and it's extremely well done. His character was incredible. I hope he won an Oscar. I don't know if he won an Oscar for it. I really hope he did, because he was fucking incredible in this film. I think he did an incredible job with his role. I really love what he had to do here. He definitely stole pretty much every scene he was in, and him and Jeff Bridges are just electric on screen together. Like I said, they're so different, but they come to become so fond of each other very quickly. It's not too long before Jack basically realizes that it's kind of his duty to turn around Perry's life, and that Perry saving him was kind of a blessing, and that's kind of what happened. That Perry is the one who saved him, and that they kind of just have to forgive each other, because these are two sides who are clashing throughout the film in a way that you haven't really seen done before, and I think they did an incredible job with that. They work so good together. You feel happy for them, you're laughing at them at points, but you're also really feeling a lot of empathy for and sadness, and I think they did an incredible job with that. There's so much range they give in these two performances. There's so much that relies on these two, and thank God they got the best two actors, because I really couldn't see anyone else pulling off these roles, especially Perry, and that's something that really does anchor this film. As far as the rest of the cast goes, though, they are all still fantastic. I think everyone really did a great job here, particularly Mercedes' role as Anne, who is, like I said, Jack's girlfriend, wife, or, his love interest throughout the film. She is incredible. I really did love her performance, because at first glance, once again, she is just kind of your typical love interest, but as the film goes on, she's a lot more than that. She's really questioning why she is with Jack, and is she gonna find that real love and what she really has with Jack? And I thought she did an incredible job. There's this fantastic scene where she's talking to Lydia, the girl that Perry likes in the film, and their scene was incredible. I think she did a really great job. She did win an Oscar for this film, and she definitely damn well deserved it. She really did a great job. I loved her performance overall. And then the girl who played Lydia, I can't think of her name right now, but she also was fantastic. I really loved her character. Amanda Plummer, that's her name. Amanda Plummer. She was fantastic as Lydia. I loved her chemistry with Perry. Their romance is very different than that of Jackson and Anne's, but it's supposed to be, but it's also very similar. And I really did love the way they connected two romances that seemingly seemed completely different and didn't really go together in the way you think they would, but in the end, they really did link together in this really cool way, and I think the film did a very good job with that. But when it really comes down to it, as good as the acting is in this film, the reason that I think this film is so highly acclaimed and why it is in the Criterion Collection and why I think you definitely should check it out, this film would not be what it is without Terry Gilliam. I mean, Terry Gilliam in this movie, it's just a force of nature. He really is. I mean, he goes all out and goes in the weirdest of directions. But at no point does it feel jarring because this film, like I said, is really about realism versus fantasy. You know, are you going to question it or are you just going to go along with it? You know, Jack is someone who is a logical guy. He believes in, you know, the logistics and everything and what's actually going on, and he wants actuality. That's just who he is. While Perry, he kind of denies it, and he kind of refuses to go against the norms of the world. He does what he wants to do, and a lot of times it ends up biting him in the ass, and the way Terry Gilliam presents this story is incredible. I love the way he presented things here. These characters have a lot of demons, and the way that he would present that, I think, was extremely well done, but he also really kept it funny. I mean, I was laughing a lot throughout this movie, and it's supposed to be funny, but something this film gets so well is that sometimes things that you might find funny are a lot more painful to the person you're laughing at, and I mean, that's something that we all laugh at, is pain. We all laugh at people's pain. That's part of laughing, is, you know, making up, you know, finding the funny in tragedy. And that's exactly what these characters are going through. There are a lot of times you're going to find that funny, but at the same time, you're like, oh shit, I'm a horrible person. Why did I laugh at that? Well, that's exactly the situation that Jack is going through here, and I think they portrayed that phenomenally. I love the way that Terry Gilliam's direction was done here. I think it was truly immaculate, truly something that I haven't seen done before, and people, they really do mean it when they say that there's nothing like a Terry Gilliam film, because he really does go all out, and the things that he's able to get away with here, he shouldn't be able to, but he does, and it just works. It really does. It's entirely his vision, and that's something I love. I love seeing a film be entirely a director's vision, and he did a great job with that. Now, the writing here as well is fantastic. Richard LaGravenese wrote this film, and once again, he's actually the guy who wrote The Last 5 Years, one of my favorite romantic films of all time, and it's understandable why, because his writing, he really knows how to write romance really well, and the idea of, you know, what romance really is, and I think he handled all that very well. I really got that sense of realism from him, and this story, you could tell he committed fully to. I think everyone really committed fully to this project, and Richard Gravenese in general, I think really did commit fully to this story, because he goes all out. I mean, they really talk about the aspects of love, but also the aspects of choice, and why someone would decide to stay in reality. You know, why is that the best thing to do? Why do we choose to deny things? Why can't we suspend our disbelief? Why can't we just accept the fact that things might actually, you know, that there might actually be things that we think can't possibly be true? Why do we just, you know, completely just deny it? Why do we just think, oh, why do we write this person off as crazy? That's really something the movie got done very well, and those little, you know, just little fragments and little things that the movie were trying to say, I think were extremely well done. I think the just there are different ambiances with that, and definitely, like I said, the movie's really an amalgamation of many things, and I really loved the way that was done. I think all of that was beautifully portrayed. But the cinematography here again is truly fantastic. It adds so much to the film, and to the point where it really is its own character. I mean, New York is a huge character in this film, just showing how sarcastic and just how dark and really just how unsympathetic the world of New York is. I mean, if you've gone to New York City, it's not the greatest place in the world. I mean, many movies, they portray New York as this beautiful city and that it's perfect and, you know, it has all these bright lights, and sure it does, but it also has very loud music and very aggressive drivers and especially very callous and narcissistic people who populate that city. I mean, most times you'll see homeless people on the street will just walk away, or you'll see someone who's in need of help, we'll just ignore them. We don't really do anything because we're just not because we're afraid, but because it's just the thing that we do as humans. And that's something this movie really gets into. It really crawls under your skin in a way, and it really makes you think about things that you really might not have think of before. And I think that's something that might throw a few people off. The fact of how this movie does categorize New York, it is something that not everyone's gonna love, but that's one of the reasons why it's in the Criterion Collection, because Criterion Collection movies, I'm not saying they're all, but most times they're films that modern audiences and, you know, casual audience goers would not like. And this is definitely, I think, one of those films, which is a shame because it is extremely well portrayed. And the way that the film really gets into these two men's past demons, they would do this really cool thing where they referred to this biblical story of the Fisher King, and they relate it to what's going on with Perry and Jack, and it was very well handled. I feel like I've seen something like that done before, but I've never really seen it encapsulated as well as it was here. I think they did that incredibly. I really thought that that was handled in a very positive, in a very successful way, and I was very impressed with the way they related that story to what was actually going on. Definitely that was something that was very, like I said, just very well portrayed. I definitely love the way that was handled. The score as well, like I said, the score is definitely a big part of what's going on. There's a lot, the soundtrack definitely, a lot of times it's kind of sarcastic in some ways. Like the songs they'll play for New York, you'll see Perry, he's just embracing the world as it is when Jack's looking at him and saying, you know, it's not really that great, why are you making something better than it is? And I thought that was just very well handled. And the film is also 2.5 hours long, and it never felt that length. I was into this movie the entire time. There wasn't a single scene I felt that was unnecessary. Every scene I thought very well went to the next. I thought the story they were telling was incredible, and it's some of the best editing I've seen for a film like this, really. I mean, the way this film is edited, it sometimes makes you feel a little bit loopy and a little bit like like I said, you're crawling into those dark corners of your mind that you just wouldn't usually get into, and I think they handled that very well. I really loved it overall. Guys, it's no secret, I love The Fisher King. I think it is an incredible film overall. I don't want you guys to know a lot going into it. Believe me, I think it is a film that is much better if you go into knowing as little as possible, except for, you know, besides the things I told you, don't look up anything else about this film. This film goes into some pretty deep directions. It goes into some pretty incredible lengths, and I absolutely loved everything about this movie. The Fisher King is an absolute masterpiece that I am so happy that I finally got the chance of viewing, and I am absolutely going to give The Fisher King a 5 out of 5 or an A+. So for guys, moving this review, The Fisher King. Let me know what you guys thought of this movie overall. If you have seen it, love to hear your thoughts on it. Do you guys agree with what I said? Did you get the same thing out of this film? I feel like it's one of those films that it's not interpreted differently, but I feel like there are definitely different things that people take away from it. You know, film is subjective in that manner, but especially with a film like this, there are different things you're definitely going to take away, and there are different things that I think you're going to think about, and it's definitely a film you just need to sit and really let digest, and I think that if you do, you will get a lot more out of this film than you anticipated, and it's definitely not a film that you just watch casually. It's a film you have to really be in the right mindset to watch, but luckily I was, as I am all these films, I don't know what the hell I'm getting into, so I just kind of sit down and take it all in, and, you know, just just release, just take it in, and that's exactly what I did here, and I think it's going very well so far. But that being said, let's now get to what the film I'm going to be reviewing next is. Alright guys, so just like last time, if you did not see this, these are the list of films that I will be reviewing if you guys are interested. I did add a few new ones that I recently got that I actually forgot to include on this list, but either way, you guys don't care about this. I'm going to, just like the last time, I'm going to hit randomize. And the next movie that I'm going to be reviewing to you guys is Rush. Yes, Rush, the movie with Chris Hemsworth that came out a few years ago. That will be my next review, so definitely look forward to that. So guys, this is why I'm happy that I'm doing this series, because as I said, it is completely random, and I was honestly really hoping that the next movie that I reviewed is the complete opposite of this movie. I don't like reviewing similar films at once. I like trying to be as divided as possible, just so you guys can see I'm reviewing all kinds of films here, and I'm very interested in this movie. I don't know really a lot going into it. It's actually not mine, it's my dad's, but I've wanted to see it for a while, and I definitely am interested in checking it out. I heard it's definitely one of Chris Hemsworth's best performance, besides Thor, obviously, so definitely look forward to a review of that in the next couple of days. But that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys thought of this movie overall. You have seen it, love to hear your thoughts in it, and I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for the season finale of Legends Tomorrow, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.